you know, the fraud type,
Yeah.
like we've seen.
Yeah.
So would you say that this attack was done by, you know, people who are not in this country, but rather outside the country?
Yes, yes. It's possible. It's possible to carry out the attack from outside the country with the instruments of attack being in the country. Here's what I mean. So you can be an outsider, and then you manage, you carry out your attack, but then you use the local servers. For example, we have so many servers, for example, in Kenya or in Nairobi and all that. So what you do is that you first of all breach the local servers or the local computing systems within the country, and then use them to carry out the attack. So in such a case, it will be very difficult even for the government to pin. In fact, most likely they will even arrest the wrong person. Yeah, because the person who actually did it using the local facilities while outside the country. Yeah. So what happens is that, as I've told you, various organizations today have offensive and defensive mechanisms for attacks. For example, in other countries, when they want to send a message to another country, a good example is recently President Museveni of Uganda demanding the Kenyan Ocean and probably making some vile threats against Kenya. In other countries, what they would do is that they would send a message to Uganda by just attacking, or it's a temporal thing, but sending a message directly to them that if you ever mention the name of Kenya and war, this is just a greeting that we are giving you, by probably tampering with their systems for maybe 6 hours and then letting it know. And it's because today, just like warfare has really advanced in different facets. People talk about the space warfare, the land warfare, the sea warfare, and all that. There is another kind of warfare that is unfolding, and that is the cyber warfare. In this case, the countries that are advancing very fast, they have already thought of establishing units or establishing squads or agencies that are capable of carrying out large-scale kind of attacks on other countries which are perceived to be enemy. And this is why this is very important. Here is why this is very important. Primarily, nearly everything is computerized today. Let's talk about, for example, this light, the light that is in this studio. So this light is transmitted, is the same, probably different sources. So from where it is transmitted, the regulation of the amount of light or the electricity that is distributed to specific channels across the country depend on the regulation by the computerized system. Now, if you attack that computerized system, or you have the capability of increasing the amount of the voltage in a line or in any tension line, that means that you can even burn the entire house. You can target this line and then increase the voltage on this line and then bring this entire building in fire or on fire completely and burn it to the ground. What if they target maybe critical institutions like, or they tell you that we are now targeting the State House? That was an example. Can we increase the voltage to the power line on State House? And probably they have also terminated all the switches that you can probably, you will maybe pay or make peace. You see, that kind of a scenario. That is why cyber crime or cyber warfare is also very, very critical to any nation today. Yeah.
But looking at the patterns that we are seeing this year, you're talking about activism, which is, you know, is not something that we often hear much about. But is it something that is new to Kenya? Because we know about financial fraud, and I know I mentioned about Mulot Boys. That is one that we know much about. And at one point, of course, the president in 2023 said that he was going to set up a software for Mulot Boys, of course, to have something to work on so that, you know, it can just terminate these cases of fraud. But when we look at activism, are we seeing it for the very first time, or it's something that has been there but has just been prominent right now?
Now, activism specifically in Kenya, it's not been very common. And it's because people, first of all, it's a crime in Kenya. Secondly, you should not try to carry it out while you are in Kenya. Most of those things are carried out from, it's better you carry it out when you're outside the country. Yeah, so when you carry it out from outside the country, it's much easier to deal with it. Secondly, not so many people outside this country are so much interested in carrying out activism in Kenya. So it's it's technically new.
You're saying money is the problem.
So money, the people go, I mean, why should I spend a lot of time carrying out activism while I can spend some little time and then get some money? So it's about the priority. And the people who can carry out such large-scale kind of attacks are not very many, because it involves a lot of higher dimensional activities that require a lot of knowledge in such kind of, because first of all, you have to cover your tracks. In covering your tracks, you must invade other people. In invading other people, you must secure that environment, and they must not know that there is an activity that is going on, and you must use it to carry out the attack. So, yeah.
Now, for yesterday's attack, of course, they were not able to do much. They just redirected citizens to other websites. But what's the worst case scenario in case this wasn't really worked on, in time?
Yeah.
What's the worst case scenario that, maybe we would have been looking at today?
So what you need to understand is that when an attack like that takes place, they are called opportunistic kind of attacks that follow most of the times. So here is what people do most of the times. When an attack takes place, there is something called zero-day exploit. So zero-day exploit is an activity of a cyber attack which exploits the vulnerabilities of the day. For example, we've noticed that the government websites have fallen. So what do you do within that period if you are interested in such kind of attacks for the future? So you exploit that opportunity to also embed your malicious software or malicious code within those infrastructures of the government during that day. You don't have to exploit that opportunity that very day and carry out another attack that very day. But the fact that you're already in the system, you can still do any other thing. The moment you are in the system, then you can carry out several other activities in future. And I believe this is what exactly happened. They exploited an opportunity that existed in the past, and they were just waiting for the right moment to carry out their messaging. And this is happening across the world. Many countries' defense systems are already in other countries' defense systems, only waiting for the opportune moment to carry out the attack. Yeah, so that is essentially what zero-day exploit means. Yeah.
So what really do we need to do, as a nation to